Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Michael Reads. I'm just setting everything up. If you're new here, my name is Michael, and this is a space where we don't just read books, we reflect, we apply, and we grow. I'm just checking my positioning and my sound just to make sure everything is all good. Right, so yeah, if you could please let me know if the sound is okay. That I'm coming through nice, loud, and clear. So yeah, if you are new, a very good big thank you. We use timeless wisdom to build modern lives with purpose, with lives with discipline, clarity, and strength. And on this channel, reading is not passive, it's an act of self respect, responsibility, and is a commitment to becoming better. So before we begin, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who's serious about growth, and subscribe if you haven't already. Every like, every share, every comment helps this message reach someone who might really need it. And I appreciate you for that. I hope you've had a strong, productive, and successful week. And I hope you've all made progress, even if it was small. I hope you've learned something and grown in some way, and taken at least one step closer to the life that you're building. Um, and as we move into the weekend, I hope you allow yourself a moment to breathe, to reflect, to recharge, and to appreciate just how far you've already come. Rest is not weak. Reflection isn't laziness. It is preparation for the next level. So let's keep leveling up. And I came up with a little quote for today. Let me just have a look. I've written it down on the side here. So you don't have to control everything. Just take responsibility for what you can, trust the process, and allow yourself to grow in peace. Now if you want me to repeat that, you don't have to control everything. Just take responsibility for what you can, trust the process, and allow yourself to grow in peace. So let that sink in. You know, I keep telling myself you're doing much better than you think, and you are stronger than you realize. Um, and you are capable of more than you can imagine. I tell that to myself, and uh, I am doing better than I think. I am stronger than I realize, and I am capable of more than I can imagine. So I just wanted to incorporate a little quote for the day, and I'll try to incorporate more little quotes um, as I do the live streams, as I continue with them. I just got a message saying my sound is good, so happy days. Um, in our last live, we went through chapter 8. We spoke about self control, about honor. It's about mastering yourself before trying to master anything else. Because the truth is, if you cannot control your emotions, your habits, impulses, or your reactions, then life will control you. We talked about how discipline shows up in real life. Um, It shows up when you wake up tired, but you still get up. It shows up when nobody's watching and you do the work still. Um, when you want comfort but you choose progress. I've had seasons of my life, in my own life, where motivation, it just disappeared. Things felt slow and results weren't immediate. And in moments like that, discipline was the only thing that carried me forward. It wasn't about hype or feelings, it was just discipline. So today we move into chapter 9, which is loyalty. And this chapter is powerful. When I mention the word loyalty, what springs to your mind? Because uh, loyalty is not something you talk about. It's something you live, and you prove over time. In Bushido, loyalty meant standing by your code, your values, and your purpose, even when it cost you your comfort. So today, loyalty looks something a bit like this. Staying committed when business is slow, faithful when your relationships are tested, remaining disciplined when nobody is praising you, and staying honest when lying would be much easier. We live in a culture of quitting. People come up with these New Year's resolutions, and they're like, oh, this year I'm gonna do something great, I'm gonna do something honorable. But then people quit. They quit things like gyms, they quit relationships, businesses, and on themselves. The moment things get uncomfortable. Bushido teaches us that your character is revealed under pressure. So as you listen today, um, and ask yourself honestly, am I loyal to my future or just loyal to my comfort? So with those little recaps of what we've covered and a brief introduction to the chapter, we shall go through the read. Loyalty. Um, yeah, grab yourself a drink, sit back, and relax. And I'm hoping this chapter goes through quite smoothly. It's quite a big one, so we will be on here for a little while. The duty of loyalty, which was the keystone making feudal virtues or symmetrical arch. Other virtues feudal morality shares in common with other systems of ethics, with other classes of people, but this virtue or homage and fealty to a superior. It is distinctive feature. I am aware that personal fidelity is a moral adhesion existing among all sorts and conditions of men. A gang of pickpockets owe allegiance to a Fagin, but it is only in the code of chivalrous honor that loyalty assumes paramount importance. In spite of Hegel's criticism that the fidelity of feudal vassals being an obligation to an individual and not to a commonwealth is a bond established on totally unjust principles. A great compatriot of his made it his boast that personal loyalty was a German virtue. Bismarck had good reason to do so, not because The truly he boasts was the monopoly of the fatherland or of any single nation or race, but because of this favored fruit of chivalry lingers latest among the people where feudalism has lasted longest. In America, where everybody is as good as anybody else, and in the Irishman, and as the Irishman added, better too, such exalted ideas of loyalty as we feel for our sovereign, he may be deemed excellent within certain bounds, but preposterous as encouraged among us. Montesquieu complained long ago that right on the side of the Pyrenees was wrong on the other, and the recent Dreyfus trial proved the truth of his remark, save that the Pyrenees were not the sole boundary beyond which French justice finds no accord. Similarly, loyalty, as we conceive it, may find a few admirers elsewhere, not because our conception is wrong, but because it is, I am afraid, forgotten, and also because we carry it to a degree not reached in any other country. Griffiths was quite right in stating that whereas in China Confucian ethics made obedience to parents the primary human duty, in Japan precedence was given to loyalty. At the risk of shocking some of my good readers, I will relate of one who would endure to follow a fallen lord, and who thus, as Shakespeare assures, earned a place in the story. The story is of one of the purest characters in our history, Machizane, who, falling a victim to jealousy and calumny, is exiled from the capital. Not content with this, his unrelenting enemies are now bent upon the extinction of his family. Strict search for his son, not yet grown, reveals the fact of his being secreted in a village school kept by one Genzo, a former vassal of Michizane. When orders are dispatched to the schoolmaster to deliver the head of the juvenile offender on a certain day, his first idea is to find a suitable substitute for it. He ponders over the school list, scrutinizes with careful eyes all the boys as they stroll into the classroom, but none among the children born of the soil bears the least resemblance to his protege. His despair, however, is but for a moment, for, behold, a new scholar is announced, a comely boy of the same age as in his master's son, escorted by a mother of noble mien. No less conscious of the resemblance between infant lord and infant retainer were the mother and the boy himself. In the privacy of home, both had laid themselves upon the altar, and the one his life, and the other her heart, yet without sign to the outer world. Unwitting of what had passed between them, it is the teacher from whom comes the suggestion. Here, then, is the scapegoat. The rest of the narrative may be briefly told. On the day appointed arrives the officer commissioned to identify and receive the head of the youth. We will we you will he be received by falsehood? The poor Genzo's hand is on the hilt of the sword, ready to strike a blow either at the man or at himself, should the examination defeat his scheme. The officer takes up the gruesome object before him, goes calmly over each feature, and in the deliberate, businesslike tone pronounces it genuine. That evening, in a lonely home, awaits the mother we saw in the school. Does she know the fate of her child? It is not for his return that she watches with eagerness for the opening of the wicket. Her father-in-law has been for a long time a recipient of Machizane's bounties, but since his banishment, circumstances have forced her husband to follow the service of the enemy of his family's benefactor. He himself could not be untrue to his own cruel master, but his son could serve the cause of the grandsire's lord. As one acquainted with the exile's family, it was he who had been entrusted with the task of identifying the boy's head. Now the day's, yea, the life's hard work is done. He returns home, and as he crosses its threshold, he accosts his wife, saying, "Rejoice, my wife, our darling son has proved of service to his lord." What an atrocious story! I hear my readers exclaim. Parents deliberately sacrificing their own innocent child to save the life of another man's. But this child was a conscious and willing victim. It is a story of vicarious death, as significant as, and not more revolting than, the story of Abraham's intended sacrifice of Isaac. In both cases, it was obedience to the call of duty, utter submission to the command of a higher voice, whether given by a visible or an invisible angel, or heard by an outward or inward ear. But I abstain from preaching. The individualism of the West, which recognizes separate interests for father and son, husband and wife, necessarily brings into strong relief the duties owed by one to the other. But Bushido held that the interest of the family and of the members thereof is intact, one and inseparable. The interest, the interest it bound up with affection, natural, instinctive, irresistible. Hence, if we die for one we love with natural love, which animals themselves possess. What is that? For if ye love them that love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? In the great history, Sanyo relates in touching language the hard struggle of Shigemori concerning his father's rebellious conduct. If I be loyal, my father must be undone. If I obey my father, my duty to my sovereign must go amiss. Poor Shigemori. We see him afterward praying with his soul and the soul that kind heaven may visit him with death, that he may be released from his world where it is hard for purity and righteousness to dwell. Many a Shigemori has his heart torn by the conflict between duty and affection. Indeed, neither Shakespeare nor the Old Testament itself contains an adequate rendering of Ko, our conception of filial piety, and yet in such conflicts, Bushido never wavered in its choice of loyalty. Women too encouraged their offspring to sacrifice all of all for the king, ever as resolute as widow Wyndham and her illustrious consort. The samurai matron stood ready to give up her boys for the cause of loyalty. Since Bushido, like Aristotle and some modern sociologists, conceived the state as antedating and individual, the latter being born into the former as part and parcel thereof, he must live and die for it, for the incumbent of its legitimate authority. Readers of Crito will remember the argument with which Socrates represents the laws of the city as pleading with him on the subject of his escape. Among others, he makes them say, "Since you were begotten and nurtured and educated under us, dare you once to say you are not our offspring and servant, you and your fathers before you?" There are words which do not impress us as anything extraordinary, for the same thing has long been on the lips of Bushido, with this modification that the laws and the state were represented with us by a personal being. Loyalty is an ethical outcome of this political theory. I am not entirely ignorant of Mr. Spencer's view, according to which political obedience, loyalty, is accredited with only a transitional function. It may be so, sufficient unto the day is the virtue thereof. We may complacently repeat it, especially as we believe that day to be a long space of time, during which, so our national anthem says, tiny pebbles grow into mighty rocks draped with moss. We may remember at this juncture that even among so democratic a people as the English, the sentiment of personal fidelity to a man and his prosperity, which their Germanic ancestors felt it for their chiefs, has, a Monsieur Boutmy recently said, only passed more or less into their profound loyalty to the race and blood of their princes, as evidenced in their extraordinary attachment to the dynasty. Political subordination, Mr. Spencer predicts, will give place to loyalty to the dictates of conscience. Suppose his induction is realized, will loyalty and its concomitant instinct of reverence disappear forever? We transfer our allegiance from one master to another without being unfaithful to either. From being subjects of a ruler that wields the temporal scepter, we become servants of the monarch who sits enthroned in the penetralia of our heart. A few years ago, a very stupid controversy started misguided by the misguided disciples of Spencer made havoc among the reading class of Japan. In their zeal to uphold the claim of the throne to undivided loyalty, they charged Christians with treasonable propensities in that they avow fidelity to their Lord and Master. They arrayed forth sophistical arguments without the wit of sophists and scholastic torch tortuosities, minus the niceties of the schoolmen. Little did they know that we can, in a sense, serve two masters without holding to the one or despising the other, rendering unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. Do not Socrates all the while he unflinchingly refused to concede one iota of loyalty to his demon, obey with equal fidelity and equanimity the command of his earthly master, the state. His conscience he followed, alive, his country he served, dying. Alack the day when the state grows so powerful as to demand of its citizens the dictates of their conscience. Bushido did not require us to make our conscience the slave of any lord or king. Thomas Mowbray was a veritable spokesman for us when he said, "Myself I throw, dread sovereign, to the foot at thy foot. My life thou shalt command, but not my shame. The one my duty owes, but my fair name. Despite of death that lives upon my grave, to dark dishonour use thou shalt not have." A man who sacrificed his own conscience to the capricious will or freak or fancy of a sovereign was accorded a low place in the estimate of the precepts. Such an one was despised as nation, a cringeling who makes court by unscrupulous fawning, or as Choshin, a favorite who steals his mother's affections by means of servile compliance. These two species of subjects, corresponding exactly to those which Lego describes, the one a duteous and knee-crooking knave, doting on his own obsequious bondage, wearing out his time much like his mother's ass, and the other trimmed in forms and visages of duty, keeping yet his heart attending on himself. When a subject differed from this manner, the loyal path for him to pursue was to use every available means to persuade him of his error, as Kent did to King Lear. Failing in this, let the master deal with him as he wills. In cases of this kind, it was quite a usual course for the samurai to make the last appeal to the intelligence and conscience of his Lord by demonstrating the sincerity of his words with the shedding of his own blood. Life being regarded as the means whereby to serve his master, and its ideal being set upon honor, the whole education and training of a samurai were conducted accordingly. Wow. That brings a close to that chapter 9. I do apologize. Some of those words were a bit challenging, but we got through it. And yeah, what a great chapter. With the, let's take a moment to really sit with what we've just read. Because chapter 9 is not simply about being loyal. It is about being loyal to other people. It is first and most importantly about being loyal to yourself, loyal to the person you say you want to be, to the standards that you claim to live by, loyal to the future you pray for and work towards. So many people, they want better lives. They abandon their routines. They lack discipline, ignore their values the moment things become really uncomfortable. And over time, this creates frustration, regret, and confusion. But loyalty creates clarity. When you stay loyal to your growth, even on days when motivation is gone, progress feels slow, and nobody notices your effort, you are quietly building your mental strength. You're teaching yourself that your word matters, your commitment means everything, and that you are someone you can trust. And that kind of self trust changes everything. It changes how you carry yourself and how you make decisions. You begin to live with more awareness and ask yourself deeper questions. And slowly, without even realizing, you become more conscious. You do things with more intention, and you're more disciplined in how you live. And that consciousness begins to shape your success, because building real success is, it's not built on excitement, it's built on loyalty to long-term thinking. uh, you know Choosing health over comfort, discipline over excuses, and peace over unnecessary chaos is, waking up to do the work even when you don't feel like it. All of that is protecting your energy, your time, and your focus. So when you stay loyal to just those few principles, there's many other principles that we could go through. Your life really starts to stabilize. Your finances become clearer, routines become stronger, your mind becomes calmer, and direction becomes sharper. Health, wealth, stability, and security. They're not accidents. They're not just things that happen. They're a result of small, loyal decisions made consistently over years. The same is true in relationships. When you're loyal to honesty, presence, consistency, to showing up in both good seasons and difficult ones, you begin to build bonds that last. People trust you and they will respect you and feel safe with or around you. You know, in in a world full of unreliability, um, that makes you rare. So when you're loyal to excellence, you naturally become more selfless. You serve better, lead better, listen better, because you're no longer just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about impact, legacy, and contribution. And when you organize your time around that mindset, when you structure your days around purpose instead of distraction, you begin to move through life with more intention. You're no longer reacting, but leading. So are no longer drifting, but you're directing, and something powerful happens when you live this way. Your problems begin to shrink, not because lives become perfect, um, because you become stronger, wiser, and more responsible. You stop running from challenges and start handling them. You don't blame, you build. You don't wish, you work towards it. And that is where real freedom comes from. Freedom from effort and from chaos, and uh, be a loyal person. you know um, be loyal to the person you promised yourself, and you will become. So what am I trying to say? Be loyal to your values, especially when nobody's watching, to your goals when progress is slow, to your health when temptation is loud, and to your family and your purpose every single day. Take 100% responsibility of your life without any excuses, without condition, and without blame, because consistency, lived with integrity, will always outperform talent without discipline. Always, always. So, if this message spoke to you today, please like, share, and subscribe, or comment below and let me know where you need to recommit in your life right now. Let's keep growing together. So thank you for reading with me. Thank you for walking this journey with me, and I will see you in the next chapter. Thank you for joining me here on Michael Reed's. Bye and have a lovely weekend.